Hello friends, this is Dr. Ranjini, Department of Biotechnology. Welcome to e-learning platform. Today we learn about types of immunity. There are two types of immunity. One is innate immunity and another one is adaptive immunity. Innate immunity is the immunity with which the organism is born. Adaptive immunity is the immunity that the organism gains or it develops after exposure to the infectious microorganism. Defense against microbes includes an early response action called innate immunity and a later response called adaptive immunity. So, innate immunity is early response. So, it is the immunity with which the organism is born. When the organism is getting acquainted or adapted to the environment, the organism will be exposed to many microorganisms. And during that period, while developing the resistance against the microorganism, it shows adaptive immunity. Hence, innate immunity is early response, whereas adaptive immunity is later response. Innate immunity is also called natural or native immunity. It provides first line of defense against microbial infection. Innate immunity involves many cellular and biochemical events that react to microbes and their products in order to clear them from the body. It involves both cells as well as biochemical components against the microorganisms. The main components of innate immune system includes barriers like skin and outer epithelial surface, scavenger cells like neutrophils, macrophages, dendritic cells and natural killer cells. It also involves complement system and complement proteins, cytokines and chemical mediators for inflammation. You will be learning about all these components in detail in coming videos. Microbial agents and pathogens contain some molecules over their surface that act as foreign substance for the body and are collectively called as pathogen associated molecular pattern, and it is abbreviated as PAMP. So on the surface of the microorganism we have some molecules and these are called PAMPs. These PAMPs are recognized by specific proteins and biochemical molecules produced by cells of innate immunity, and these recognition molecules are called as pattern recognition receptors. To recognize PAMPs in the host cell, these pattern recognition receptors will act and they remove the microorganism or the infection. Innate immune responses are produced against specific structures present over the microbes and are common to many of them. Thus, they cannot distinguish the minute differences among the microbes. This is very important. So they recognizes the specific structures present on the microbes that are common to many of the microorganisms. They fail to distinguish minute differences among the microorganisms. Coming to the adaptive immunity is stimulated by constant exposure of infectious agents or pathogenic microorganism. The most characteristic feature of adaptive immunity is memory against the repetitive exposure of same pathogen. So this memory is absent in case of innate immunity. Here, this adaptive immunity can remember the pathogen for the second encounter or secondary other infections. Furthermore, it has a capacity to distinguish between fine differences among microbes and hence also called as specific immunity. As specific immunity is gathered by constant exposure to the foreign agent, it is better termed as acquired immunity. Adaptive immunity is otherwise called as acquired immunity. The central components of adaptive immunity are lymphocytes and their secreted products. Examples: antibodies. Foreign substances that trigger specific immune responses and are identified by lymphocytes or antibodies are called as antigens. You will be learning about these lymphocytes and antigens in detail in coming video lectures. Relation between innate and adaptive immunity. How they work inside the organism. Almost all the higher organisms have well-developed mechanisms for defending against the microorganisms. Innate and adaptive system work together as they are the components of host integrated system. This graph shows how innate immunity will be established in the organism and when acquired immunity will be activated. Innate immunity is the early response, has no specificity, has no memory and can act on the any type of the microorganism. Whereas acquired immunity, it is a delayed response, late response and has specificity and memory. It takes more time to establish in the host organism. It develops by constant exposure of the host cell to the same microorganism. However, there are many microbes that have developed and adapted to resist the innate immunity and hence more robust mechanisms are required for their expulsion or their removal. Innate and adaptive immune systems are interlinked. Stimulation of any one against the foreign substances instigates the other and hence functions cooperatively. We cannot expect only one immune system to function to clear the microorganism. They are interlinked, they act together in order to remove the infection inside the host organism. Now we'll see the differences between innate and adaptive immunity. So this adaptive immunity is also termed as acquired immunity. When we take up the specificity, in innate immunity gets activated molecules present on group of related microbes recognized by the host cells. In adaptive immune response, the acquired immunity will be activated by microorganisms, and it can differentiate very subtle differences between the microorganisms. It will discriminate each and every microorganism, and also it is activated by non-microbial molecules. If you consider the memory, in innate immune response there is no memory, but in adaptive immunity there is memory. Diversity, if you consider, diversity in innate immune response is very narrow, whereas in adaptive immunity it is wide, because innate immune response cannot recognize the differences between the microorganism, but that is possible in case of adaptive immune response. Reactivity against self. Innate immunity will not be raised against the self molecules. Similarly, in also adaptive immune response. Part of innate and adaptive systems. So, which components act in innate and adaptive immune response? In innate immune response, skin and epithelial surface acts as the barriers, or they bring about the innate immune response, whereas in case of adaptive immune response is mediated by lymphocytes and antibodies. In innate immune response, it is mediated by complement proteins, whereas here adaptive immunity is mediated by antibodies. If you consider the cells, here I have quoted only few examples. Phagocytes shows innate immune response. In adaptive immune response, lymphocytes play an important role in clearing the infection. I hope you understood the types of innate immunity. Thank you.